Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to LTQ Wrestling Podcast. I am BDJ. Penta has arrived in WWE, and what a debut it was for Penta. Looked incredible in this match. Looked a little bit off. I think he botched like maybe one move in the beginning, but other than that, he put on a show, him and Chad Gable, and credit to Gable as well. This is the perfect opponent to put him against in his debut, a guy who makes everybody else look good, just like kind of like a Dolph Ziggler role that Chad Gable's in right now. You can put him against anybody. He's going to make himself and his opponent look like $1,000,000. The crowd was hyped. As soon as the lights went out for Penta's entrance, they were into it. They were excited. We all knew who was showing up. And it was weird seeing Penta in a WWE TV or on WWE TV in a WWE ring, but he looked like he belonged. One botch throughout, but man, what a debut for Penta. Gable hit a German suplex on the apron. Penta hit the Mexican Destroyer, the Penta driver, and the reaction he got. I know it's a debut and everything, but he looked like a star out there. And I think that was the problem with him in AEW. They just saw him as a tag team guy and didn't really try to do much with him as a singles. If he was in a singles match, it wasn't really important, or he lost all the time. WWE tonight made Penta look like a bigger star than AEW ever did. You could say that for Cody. You could say that for Jade Cargill. You could say that for a lot of wrestlers who have switched between companies. And not that AEW doesn't have big debuts, but it's all about how you follow that debut. And this in the main event between Finn Balor and Damian Priest are my two favorite matches tonight. Both matches were incredible. I'll get into the main event to wrap up this video. But Penta didn't disappoint. I mean, he had a hell of a showing. Chad Gable, hell of a showing. Back and forth. They went a while, too. I thought this was maybe going to be a match that maybe went 5 or 10 minutes. They show a little bit of what Penta can do to fans who don't really know a lot about him, or the casual fans. But he did a lot of Penta stuff. The Zero Mero. I always botch that, but you guys know what it is. Just awesome to see Penta. I hope he has much success in WWE. Glad he's not going to be in the LWO, at least not yet. I hope they really don't put him in that group. And even him on the mic afterwards. And this ain't a knock on Ricochet, but Penta ain't even that good at speaking English, and he cut a better promo than Ricochet ever did. And I'm a Ricochet fan, but that shows a lot. He spoke in Spanish. He spoke in English. He said it's the Penta era in WWE, not just the Netflix era. And just a hype debut. And hopefully you guys enjoyed just as much as I did. A lot of fans didn't really know a lot about Penta or what to expect, but I think he showed what he can do on the big stage in WWE. And I will say this, I think a lot of wrestlers like Penta who have such a unique style, in AEW, they don't really stand out as much. But in a WWE environment where we don't really see a lot of his style, I think he's going to stand out even more. Kind of like what Ricochet did. But Penta, I think, has more, not even think, he has absolutely A-plus charisma. Ricochet don't really have a lot of charisma. And that charisma will carry Penta a lot farther than me and many others expected to in WWE, I think. So just a great overall debut. So to kick off the show, CM Punk comes out there. The crowd's chanting CM Punk. He pulls up in the car. He goes out there. He's talking about his journey, how he thought, he was going to be out, and how his WWE debut and return, or WWE return, was a letdown. But he got the win over Seth Rollins last week. And he's had a lot of opponents he hasn't seen in WWE. He does a Cena, you can't see me. A lot of Cena references in this promo. He says, John Cena says he's going to enter the Royal Rumble. And I am too. And CM Punk declares he will enter the Royal Rumble with many other big stars. And he says, at the end of the Rumble, you will hear my music, and I will go on to headline WrestleMania like I promised I would. And he says, hit my music, and Seth Rollins' music hits. And Seth Rollins comes out there, the crowd singing his song as they always do. He looks just pissed off, annoyed. He lost. And he talks about how that loss last week was the biggest loss of his career. He's had a lot of losses in his career, but that one was the biggest. And he says his vengeance will be eliminating Punk in the Royal Rumble, and that will be satisfying enough for him. And Seth Rollins declares he will enter the Royal Rumble. And then Drew McIntyre comes out, and he's talking about how him and CM Punk have a history, and that Punk pretty much says back, I left you laying in the ring. You had to get however many staples, and if you want to get back in this ring again, step a foot further, and I'll make sure that was nothing compared to what I'll do next to you. And Drew's talking about how Rollins and Punk are very similar in how they act, but one admits he's a jackass, the other one won't. And Drew says he's entering the Royal Rumble. So Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk all in the 2025 Royal Rumble, along with Roman Reigns, John Cena, LA Knight. I think Jey Uso said he was going to be in it. So this is an absolutely stacked Royal Rumble. Could argue the most stacked Royal Rumble in history. So great opening segment, three guys who have a history with each other. Rollins and Drew have a lot in common, but they don't like each other. They obviously don't like Punk. That's really the one big thing they got in common. So they cooked here. We already talked about Gable and Penta. Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser had a back and forth match. Sheamus ends up getting the win. Ludwig needs to start winning something. I don't know when that's going to begin necessarily for Ludwig Kaiser, but they both look solid in this match. After the match, Braun Breaker's in the crowd. Sheamus is celebrating with Pat McAfee, and Braun Breaker stares him down. It sets up their match for Saturday night's main event in a week. So that will be for the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther comes out, talks about how he saw the Raw premiere on Netflix. A lot of big moments, but the matches and wrestling themselves were a letdown. He thought there was a lot more people that could take on that responsibility and that pressure, and they didn't. And out comes Jey Uso. After Gunther's talking about how he needs a new challenger, Jey Uso comes out and he's talking about how, I heard you need a challenger. I put Drew McIntyre behind me. I put the bloodline behind me. I put my family behind me. I'm ready to step up against you. Gunther starts laughing. He says Jey needs to make sure this is something he wants. He's 2-0 against Jey in his career. He beat him both times in their previous IC title matches. Says all Jey is a very good tag team wrestler. And Jey says, he was scared to go on his own, but he always has a chip on his shoulder every time he wakes up in the morning to prove all the haters wrong and prove he belongs. And they will face off at Saturday night's main event, Gunther and Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Can't wait for that. That should be a kick-ass match. We had Dakota Kai against Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And this is a good match, back and forth. Dakota Kai's got a crazy finisher. I always say that. She cooked. Lyra Valkyria cooked a lot of good spots. Was surprised Lyra Valkyria won, because before this match happened, I was thinking, okay, is it too soon to have Lyra Valkyria win? Because she's been on the main roster for a little while, but she isn't really that over with the audience yet. Like, when she won, obviously the crowd popped because it's a win, first time win, monumental moment, first ever women's Intercontinental Champion. But I don't think a lot of fans are really familiar with her yet as a character, as a wrestler yet. They're still getting to know her. So part of me was like, is it too soon? And obviously it wasn't. And maybe the plan is to have her win, have her face, maybe a Becky Lynch or a Charlotte Flair, whoever they put her against, like some bigger names for that new championship, and get her more over. And I'm not going to say that's a bad idea at all. I think that could really work. So we'll have to see what the game plan is. A good match. Lyra Valkyria makes history, wins her first title, first ever women's IC champion. So good for her. Hope to see the best yet to come from her as far as just her career in WWE. And then we had Sami Zayn against Miz. Very quick match. I'm guessing they were running low on time, even though this show was cut shorter than what it usually is. Maybe they just didn't care enough about this match. The crowd was not really into this match at all. I can't really blame them. Miz loses. Blue Thunder Bomb, Haluva kick. He's done. 1, 2, 3. And yeah, not much to say here. I mean, Sami gets the win and we move on. So Rhea Ripley comes out, talks about how she's Rhea Bloody Ripley. She won back her championship, and before she even really says too much, Nia Jax comes out, and Nia says, it's Tiffy time and mommy time, but Nia's going to enter the Royal Rumble and win it. Nia Jax is getting kind of the Charlotte Flair treatment right now, not really with championship, but just her appearing everywhere right now. I mean, she is on every show, and she's been cooking. I ain't going to lie. She's been doing some of the best work of her career, so credit to Nia there. Bayley's in the crowd. Nia calls out Bayley. Bayley gets in the ring. They get into a brawl. And that's pretty much it. I mean, not really much went on here. Just kind of them hyping up Tiffany and Bayley's match for next week, and also Nia and everything. And then we had the main event. Damian Priest against Finn Balor in a hell of a main event. They did a Falcon Arrow off pretty much the fans' areas through 2 tables. Finn's getting stretchered out. And, I figured the match wasn't over, but Finn doesn't get off the, stretcher. Priest just attacks them after JD and Carlito try to attack him. He throws them into the Titantron, and he throws Finn back in the ring on the stretcher. He just rolls back in the ring. They did a coup de grace. Priest kicked out. They did a coup de grace through the table. They did a South to Heaven choke slam through the table. Carlito and JD were out there. The Viking Raiders end up coming out, but they set up the table. They take them out of the equation. And then another a razor's edge through the table after the coup de grace, and then Damian Priest hits the South to Heaven choke slam for the win. Awesome main event. My summary probably don't do it all justice. Please check out that main event. It was incredible. My only gripe, though, when is Finn Balor going to win a damn match? Priest has beaten him in every match they've had. I think it's what, 2 or 3 matches so far. I mean, I've heard 2025 is going to be a big year for Finn Balor. I know we're only a few weeks in, but man, unless he starts getting some wins, it's really hard to take Finn serious at this point. I think, in my opinion, WWE's done a very bad job of getting this new Judgment Day over. Liv's without a championship now. JD and Finn don't have the tag titles anymore. They keep losing. I mean, obviously, Liv beat Rhea a good amount of times, but Finn's just lost to Priest every single time. So it's like, where does he go from here? I mean, this is just not a good look. The new Judgment Day, ever since Priest and Rhea left, have just not been very good. And that's not really their fault. That's just booking. But yeah, that's really my main problem from that match. Just Finn taking too many losses. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this Netflix edition of Raw. I thought it was a good episode. It ended early, ended about 30 minutes early. That's a pleasant surprise. I know Triple H said the shows aren't going to always be 3 hours, which this showed. Make sure to like and subscribe for more wrestling content. Comment your thoughts on Penta's debut, some of the other key moments from Raw. Peace.